So week 4 of the NFL season might break records that we didn't think were possible, especially this early on. Part of that could be largely due to the epic showdown that's going to take place on Sunday Night Football, but that is far from the only intriguing game taking place this week. There's also some key injuries that could affect the outcome of these games, so in today's video, I'll break all that down, look at Seattle's last-minute win against the Cardinals last night on Thursday Night Football, and more right after. All right, first up, the Seahawks moved to 3-1 last night on Thursday Night Football after beating the Cardinals on a walk-off field goal at the end. I thought Seattle was the better team overall, had them winning as well. They were very committed to the run in this one, going 35 carries for 155 yards. Sam Darnold did get a little careless with the football at one point, getting stripped, but other than that, he was effective with over 240 yards and a touchdown. On throws of 10 or more yards, Darnold was 9 of 11 for 165 yards and a touchdown last night, and overall on the season, he has the highest PFF grade of any quarterback on such throws. Seahawks fans have to feel pretty good right now about the Darnold signing, especially when you consider the guy is the 18th highest paid at his position. Definitely getting some great value there. Some other interesting takeaways from this game. This one was really the tale of two halves for both of the former Ohio State receivers in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jaxson Smith-Njigba. They combined for 1 catch in the first half, and Marv had a horrible drop on this play that resulted in one of Kyler Murray's 2 picks on the night, but he came alive in the second half, even making this nice contested catch in the end zone to tie the game at 20 apiece with 33 seconds to go. In the first half, Kyler was 1 for 5 for 8 yards and 2 picks when targeting Marvin Harrison, but in the second half, he was 5 for 5 with 58 yards and the touchdown. I will say, Seattle's defense had Kyler running for his life all game. They had 14 different defenders record at least 1 pressure last night. I'm going to say that again. They had 14 different defenders record at least 1 pressure last night, and that's the most of any game this season. And they got home for 6 sacks, which played a big role in their W. Jaxson Smith-Njigba was held without a catch in the first half, but he came alive in the fourth quarter with multiple clutch catches, including one that helped set up the game-winning 52-yard field goal as Seattle went on to win 23-20. I will say the Cardinals kicker, Chad Ryland, also helped set up the game-winning field goal for the Seahawks in his own way because his kickoff near the end of the game landed just short of the landing zone, and I mean barely, but still, that gave the Seahawks the ball at the 40 and certainly helped play a role in helping them at least in part get into field goal range. Anyway, back to JSN. He currently leads the league in receiving yards, but Puka Nacua is 69 nice yards behind him, and he could very realistically hit that this Sunday against the Colts. And with that, Seattle moves to 3-1, and they've now beat the Cardinals 8 times in a row. Pretty crazy, with Arizona now falling to 2-2 on the year. Next up, I want to take a look at some of the best matchups and storylines, as well as key injuries heading into this week 4 NFL slate, because we've got some great games on the docket. But first, I want to hit you guys with 3 of my favorite picks for this weekend using Underdog, of course, the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. James Cook has scored a rushing touchdown in 7 consecutive games, and one more this week against the Saints would actually break the franchise record. So I am going to take him to find the end zone at least once this week. The same goes for Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm taking his higher than half a rush and receiving touchdown. Gibbs and Cook actually tied for the most rushing touchdowns last year with 16, and Gibbs just scored 2 last week alone, so I'm feeling pretty confident in that one. Then finally, I think it would only be right for Micah Parsons to get a sack against Dak and the Cowboys when he returns to Dallas on Sunday Night Football. You already know he's going to be extra motivated, so I'm taking his higher on a half a sack, and if these 3 picks hit, you can win up to 3x on your money, so make sure to tail if you like these as well. And any new signups who use my code CBTH can play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds. It used to be $50, they've doubled it. It's now $100 in bonus funds plus a gimme pick in the lobby. All right, let's start over in Dublin, where the first ever regular season NFL game in Ireland will be played between the Steelers and the Vikings. It's the potential Rodgers' revenge game after the Vikings chose not to bring him in this offseason and opted to ride with J.J. McCarthy, who is sadly out with an ankle sprain for the next few weeks. So it's Carson Wentz season. He'll be under center yet again after helping them get a W last week. So both of these teams are coming off wins and are sitting at 2-1. And both of these squads are coming off of games in which they forced their opponent to 5 turnovers. That is a lot. So this game could especially come down to who can best take care of the football, protect it like a little baby. Over his career, Rodgers has been one of the best at that, if not the best, with the highest touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history. But last year, when he played for the Vikings in London as a member of the Jets, Rodgers threw a pick 6 and then the game-sealing interception near the end of the fourth quarter. And this season, in the Steelers' last 2 games, he's thrown 3 picks, then believe it or not, but Rodgers currently ranks 30th in dropback success rate. The only qualifying quarterback that's ranked lower is actually Cam Ward, and he's a rookie on a subpar team. The Vikings are coming in with a top 10 defense in just about every statistical category, so if Carson Wentz can just manage the game well, play a clean game, avoid the turnovers like he did last week, I think Minnesota walks away with this W. Jordan Addison is also back after serving his 3-game suspension. That's going to be a major boost for that Vikings offense, on top of also having Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. However, they will be without left guard Donovan Jackson, who had surgery on his wrist earlier this week and will miss some time. Then Andrew Van Ginkel has also been ruled out with a neck injury. The Steelers are pretty banged up too, though, with Jalen Warren, Jonnu Smith, and Joey Porter Jr. all listed as questionable. Then we may have one of the greatest battles of 1 and 2 teams we've seen in some time here. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, with the Chiefs being the home team. It's going to be a battle at Arrowhead, but it's a very important game for both teams, okay, as they're going to be scratching and clawing not to fall to 1 and 3. Only 14% of teams that started a season, any season really, 1 and 3 have gone on to make the playoffs, so not impossible to get there, but it will be a lot more difficult for whoever loses this game. Now, Patrick Mahomes is 5-1 against Lamar Jackson, including the playoffs in his career, so it's hard to pick against the Chiefs in this spot, especially at home where Lamar Jackson has not won a game. He is 0-3 at Arrowhead. Xavier Worthy is also trending towards playing, so that should, I don't know what to really expect from Worthy, to be honest with you, but that should in theory help the offense a bit. And the Ravens defense has allowed 32 points per game through 3 weeks, so there's going to be some opportunities to be had, that's for sure. I'm going to be rolling with the Chiefs in this one, which probably comes as no surprise, but the Ravens are a very good team. A lot of people are predicting them to win, so we'll see how it ends up playing out. Next up, there's only 6 undefeated teams left in the NFL right now, and we've got 2 of them playing each other on Sunday. That's the Eagles against the Bucs, with this one being played in Tampa. Believe it or not, but Jalen Hurts is 1-4 against the Bucs throughout his career, including a couple of playoff losses. He's been sacked 14 times in those games, and I expect Todd Bowles to send a pretty good amount of pressure on Sunday. Saquon has also gotten off to a bit of a slow start this season, averaging just 3.3 yards a pop, and he hasn't cracked 100 yards one single time. Well, the Bucs have held opposing teams to under 100 rushing yards in 11 straight games, so this may be another tough matchup for him. The Eagles are nearly impossible to fully shut down for an entire game, though. They've got weapons all over the field and can attack you in a lot of different ways. The Bucs could be getting back a couple of their own weapons this week, though, as both Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs return to practice on Wednesday and are trending towards making their season debuts this week. I think that's huge because Mike Evans is going to miss this week with a hamstring injury, and the Bucs are down both their starting right guard and starting right tackle, so they need all the help they can get. I think this game has the potential to be very close, and if it is, then I do like Baker Mayfield having another clutch performance late in the game like he has the first 3 weeks of the season. That is, if he ends up playing. Todd Bowles did say today that Baker should be good to play on Sunday, but if you didn't know, Baker has been limited all week with his right biceps being listed on the injury report. That is obviously the bicep of his throwing arm. So we'll see how that has him looking out there this week if he does in fact end up playing and finishing out this game. If he can't go, it'll be Teddy Bridgewater, and I think the Eagles are going to take this one. If Baker can go, I'm obviously going to roll with the Bucs. And then here's the game of the week, maybe even the game of the year so far, and that's going to be Sunday Night Football between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. This is happening in Dallas with Micah Parsons coming home. This place is going to be electric, and you already know Micah is going to be fired up. That's a little spooky for the Cowboys, who are going to be without 2 starters on the line. Center Cooper Beebe is on injured reserve with a foot injury, and their right guard Tyler Booker was ruled out with a high ankle sprain. Don't be surprised if Green Bay moves Micah around and we see him rush from the interior at times to try and expose Dallas's weakness on the line. Dak is also going to be without CeeDee Lamb, who has an ankle injury, so George Pickens will be the focal point, with tight end Jake Ferguson likely getting a lot of work in as well. For the Packers offense, this is going to be a good opportunity for them to bounce back after being held to 10 points against the Browns last week. The Cowboys might actually have one of the worst defenses in football. They are giving up over 30 points a game and nearly 400 yards each. So, yeah, the Green Bay Packers should be able to find success. But just like Dallas, their line is all kinds of banged up right now. Their starting right tackle, Zach Tom, is doubtful with an oblique, and their starting left guard, Aaron Banks, is questionable with a groin issue. So, shoot. Kenny Clark has a chance to put together a revenge game himself against his former team, like Micah on the opposite side. I think the O-line injuries for both teams probably cancels each other out, but the loss of CD, in my opinion, is going to be too much for Dallas to overcome, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Combine that with their defense being extremely sus, and I am 100% taking the Packers to win this game by quite possibly quite a bit, as Jerry Jones watches helplessly from his suite. I'm also excited to watch Jaxson Dart make his NFL debut against the Chargers. I don't have high hopes that he'll actually get the W here. It helps that he'll have Malik Nabers out there, who was questionable with the shoulder but is off the injury report now and is good to go. This is kind of crazy, but with Dart getting the nod this week, Nabers will be catching passes from his 6th quarterback since becoming a Giant last year. 6 different starting quarterbacks in 19 games is insane. And if he catches a touchdown in the next 2 games, he will be the first player since 1991 to have caught a touchdown from 5 different quarterbacks in the first 20 games of his career. Speaking of quarterbacks, Malik Nabers' old teammate, his old college teammate, Jayden Daniels, has officially been ruled out for the 2nd week in a row as he manages a knee sprain. That means for the 2nd week now, Marcus Mariota will be the starter and playing against a former team of his as the Commanders get set to take on the Falcons. Mariota was excellent, though, in their win over Vegas last week, so that is helpful. He had over 200 yards and 2 total touchdowns. It's going to be a little tougher this time around, though, because on top of Jayden Daniels being out, their star wideout, scary Terry McLaurin, was also ruled out with a quad injury. The silver lining is that it doesn't require surgery, but this could be something that keeps Scary Terry out for a couple of weeks, if I had to guess. For Atlanta, they're coming off of a big ol' donut. They got blown out 30-0 by the Panthers. Raheem Morris reiterated they're not considering benching Penix or anything like that for Kirk Cousins, but he does need to have himself a good bounce back game. That's for sure. 49ers fans got some good injury news as Brock Purdy was out there today for his 3rd straight practice and is expected to start on Sunday after missing some time with a turf toe injury. Mac Jones has held it down the past couple of weeks very nicely, to be honest with you, leading them to narrow wins over the Saints and Cardinals, but this offense is definitely better with Purdy under center. They'll be hosting the 2-1 Jacksonville Jaguars as they try and remain the only undefeated team in the NFC West, and it looks like Purdy might potentially have to do this without Ricky Pearsall or Juwan Jennings, who are both listed as questionable to play. We'll see what ends up happening there. Justin Fields looks to be making his return as well after missing week 3 with a concussion. Fields has logged 2 full practices in a row now, with Adam Schefter noting that he's on track to play Monday night against the Dolphins. At first, I was relieved that there's 2 Monday Night Football games this week because this is a disgusting matchup of 0-3 teams, but I don't know how much better Bengals against the Broncos really is, considering Denver has looked pretty underwhelming so far this season, and the Bengals looked like absolute dog water without Joe Burrow last week. Next up, this isn't an injury to a player or anything, but I did want to mention that Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Patriots, announced today that their defensive coordinator, Terrell Williams, was sadly diagnosed with prostate cancer and is undergoing treatment. Williams has been away from the team for a while now, but there hadn't been any word as to what was going on with him until today. So I just wanted to mention that and say that I'm wishing all the best for him as he undergoes treatment. I know that's kind of ending things on a heavier note today, but had to mention it so that you guys would be in the know as well and root for Coach Williams to kick the ever-loving out of this cancer. So get well soon to him, and with that, I'll see y'all next time.